welcome to this video where we're going to be looking at a viewer question. So first of all, thank you to the viewer for writing this question so we can look at it. And I decided to do a video just in case, it could be helpful to, anyone else out there. So let's start with the question. I have watched a few of your videos and you have an interesting perspective which I believe to be the truth. Are you saying the Holy Land is in sub-Saharan Africa? Other areas of Africa rather than Northeast Africa, which many call Israel today. Just want to be clear. So the first thing I would like to speak about is this part here where it says Northeast Africa in this connection with Israel. I know many viewers will know what's being said here, but there could also be lots of people that don't know. So let me just speak about that first. So we just go to a map. So the modern state of Israel, most people in the world will know this region as the Middle East. And also, most people would say that Israel is in Asia, not in Africa. But there is maybe we could say like a minority group or a body of people who are, saying that Israel also belongs to the continent of Africa. And it's to do with, tectonic plates. It's not my area, so if that interests you, you can, look for someone that can explain it much better than I can. But it is the idea of this regions of Israel and Arabia actually also being a part of Africa. So I think that's what the the viewer is saying when he speaks about Northeast Africa and Israel. So let me first just say what are we actually saying on this channel when we speak about the Holy Land. So we were doing recently some videos about the Philistines, asking could Libya be connected with the Philistines and the way of the Philistines? So in the Exodus for the Israelites, maybe they couldn't go this way, so instead they went to the south. So that's the view of this channel, is that, and it's obviously going to be my where I am at with this, is that I feel that the Israelites are coming south to get to the Holy Land. So if they're coming south, then they're going away from Egypt. So they're coming away from this region. So then I would say that, I don't feel that this is connected to the Holy Land at all. So, just speaking very plainly so that it's clear, I think that's what the viewer wants to know, is just to make it simple. So what are you saying? So that's the simple way to put, where I'm at with my research, looking for the Holy Land to the south of Egypt. So that's why we use terms like sub-Saharan Africa, because we see how the topography and the land changes below the Sahara Desert, and it becomes more, we could say the land changes and it becomes maybe a better place or an easier place to live. It's going to be much easier to make your life and try to grow and be plentiful, below the Sahara. Trying to live in the Sahara Desert is going to be a very hard life. And remember the promises that God made to Israel about the Promised Land. So that's why this region looks more, it makes more sense with the promises of God, and where it would make sense for Israel to be, where they could grow and they could flourish. So that's why we use that term sub-Saharan Africa. But I'm not going to say that there might not be territory in the Sahara that also belongs to Israel, because I don't have all the answers. So I don't make videos saying this is where the Holy Land was and this is where all the borders were, because I'm also still searching and trying to learn. But that's just my simple way of explaining it. I'm saying that I feel the Israelites are coming south to get to the Holy Land, so they're coming away from Egypt. So that's what I'd like to speak about now, is why is this region here attracting people, and why is it drawing people in, where we have groups of people trying to claim this region as also being a part of Africa. So let's speak about that, because if we go to this map, now what we've got highlighted here is a Roman province called Africa. So in the Roman Empire, there was a province called Africa, and this is what we've been given here. So I think this is important to speak about. If we go back in time, this this idea of this whole continent being Africa, that's very modern. If we go back in time, Egypt was Egypt. Egypt is not a part of Africa, the further back we go. So I think this is important for us to think about. So this idea of Africa is predominantly for North Africa, to the Romans and to the Greeks. It's not a word that applies to Egypt. So I think that's the first thing that's really important. So you could say that Egypt is not in Africa, or Egypt doesn't belong to Africa, because of what does this word Africa really mean and where does it come from? And then if you look at this land to the east of Egypt, wouldn't it make sense that this would belong to Egypt? If this land's going to belong to anybody, surely it would belong, to Egypt. So that's how I feel about it is, this is not connected to Africa in terms of the terminology, if that makes sense. So why are people so attracted to this region and wanting to claim it, let's say? So let's look at that. So now remember we're saying that Israel is coming away from Egypt, to the south. But then, when we're doing this research and we're looking at maps and we're looking at information, you can't choose what you want and then ignore what you don't want to see. Let's speak about that. So on this map, the 1710 map of Africa, we can see here we have Jerusalem. And I'm going to stick with the term Middle East because I think that's the term most people know, and then they won't get confused. So we can see the word Jerusalem here in the Middle East. So then why all this discussion and this debate? Why are we even saying that we're looking for the Holy Land to the south of Egypt when on the map it says Jerusalem? And then if we go to a 1554 map, we see it also says Jerusalem. So we can see that there is something to this region. So let's just speak about that quickly. And what we'll do is we'll go to the web page on Helena. So Helena, the mother of Constantine. And obviously there's a lot of information here. I want to just pick something out for this video. I just want to see if I've got it highlighted here. Okay, it's highlighted so you can see where we are. So Helena was fascinated with looking for relics, holy relics, and creating churches, and so that there could be a pilgrimage for for Christians. Just so you get an idea of what she was doing. And we have this one here. It says, local founding legend attributes to Helena's orders the construction of a church in Egypt to identify the burning bush of Sinai. So the burning bush was the story of Moses. So she was creating these churches to create these pilgrimage sites, and then that would attract Christians to come visit for for the experience and to be a part of this ancient history. But what was her motivation? Was it based on pure motivation, based on her faith? Because when you start reading a bit lower down, it starts speaking about temples to Venus, so pagan gods, pagan temples, and then you just start to get like a bit of a red flag. What's going on here? Is it really what it's saying, or is it something else going on? So if we just go to map, so we've been told that the Sinai Peninsula is here, obviously very close to Egypt, and now there's churches that are here that are supposed to be there because this is where Moses was with the burning bush. And then Helena is going through these regions, creating churches, finding relics, which is going to be drawing Christians into this region. So maybe you can start to see what I'm going to say. That this region has I'm going to use the word ancient because obviously it's a very relative term. Let's just go to the top. We see Helena living between 246 AD to 330 AD. So that's roughly like 1,700 years ago. So there is a long time. 1,700 years is a long time. So I'm going to use that word ancient, but because I can't think of a better word at the moment. But there is like an ancient history to this region, with regards to Christianity and pilgrimages, and an interest obviously with things that are connected to the Bible. So the fact that we do have these words here like Jerusalem, it's it's not straightforward. It's not easy to analyze and to speak about it. But I don't know. I'm not quite sure how to say this, but the fact that it says Jerusalem, I don't see that as a fabrication necessarily. Like it's a complete fabrication, and there's not like they've made something up here out of nothing, because we can see that there is actually an ancient history to this region with Christianity, with churches, and with pilgrimages. So there is something about this area. I'm not going to deny that. But is it really based on truth, or should I say, is it based on like pure intentions? Is it pure? I'm going to say maybe stick with that word. Is what's happening here pure? Because it would obviously take investigation, and you have to decide for yourself what's going on here. There'll be no way to prove now, what was her motivation, and was her intentions pure, trying to find these discoveries of these relics. But when you start hearing about, pagan temples to Venus, then you just start thinking, is there something else going on? And that's where, that's where I am with it. That I think there is something going on here that it doesn't quite feel right. And I'm not going to go into too much more detail in this video, because we are actually doing a bit of a we've started some videos, so I don't want to go off too much away from that, but I just wanted to answer the question in a simple way, so that other people that come across the channel know what we're about and what we're saying. So just to a final recap, we're saying that of the opinion that the Israelites are coming out of Egypt but going to the south to get to the Holy Land. So if they're going to the south and they're going away from Egypt, then how can this be connected to the Holy Land, at all? And for me, this looks more like it should be connected with the history of Egypt. So if Israel is coming out of Egypt, why are we trying to hold on to this, or bring this into, let's say, even into Africa, this idea of this concept of Africa? And then also that doesn't make sense, because this is Egypt. It's not Africa. The further back we go, Africa was more about this region, the north coast of, I'm gonna have to say Africa because that's what we've been given for this whole continent, but yeah, this region here. So I think that's what we have to keep in our minds and think about. But I can't tell you, I'm not going to try to pretend that I know everything about the Holy Land, or where should we be looking for Jerusalem. I'm also still learning and discovering. So let me know what you think about this video, and where maybe where you're at with this. But all I ask is, if you do have a discussion, try to do it in the right spirit, because it's a very emotive topic, and the Holy Land is very important to people. So we can try to be respectful to where people are, and it is very difficult and challenging when you've believed something your whole life and then it's challenged. It's a very it's not a nice place to be. So if we could try think about where people are in their pilgrimage, in their discovery and in their journey of learning, and just look out for each other. So thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.